All right, welcome to another Richardson Plano Networkers Connect to Thrive Mastermind. And today we have an awesome warrior that's going to be guiding our mastermind discussion. And the topic we're going to focus on today is using or having business or speaking. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank here all of a sudden. But having speaking as a business strategy. And one of the things I will say about that is it doesn't matter if you see yourselves as a speaker from the stage or a speaker on a podcast or a speaker on a YouTube channel or a speaker in any place. It's really about getting your message and getting your audience to understand things that you want to communicate. And we can do that from any different places. Jeff and I have had a relationship for a long time, and we'll talk, about that as we go. But we've all had to kind of evolve, if you will, on how we reach our audience in various shows and podcasts and various other formats. And I think that's a beautiful thing. So that's one of the reasons why we brought Jeff in at the beginning of the year here, because I think everybody in this mastermind, everybody in our community, and everybody that watches this video really needs to understand that if you're not focused on building your audience, then your impact and ultimately your monetization or your business is going to be not as successful as it could be. So that's kind of the topic we're going to focus on today. And let me introduce Jeff to you. And again, some of you know Jeff, but a lot of you watch this will not. Jeff is really from his elevator speech, or what we call the 30-second to keynote addresses, speaking from the stage, speaking from the Zoom, whatever. Jeff guides people with the right words for each situation. As a speaker and trainer himself, he's received rave reviews, speaking over 800 times. He's an author of 30 Seconds to Success, that generating your referrals from your elevator pitch, and upcoming Speaking as a Business Strategy. And that's what we're going to kind of talk about today, 9 laws of business speaking success. And so following successful careers in advertising, marketing, and production, Jeff's individual and group programs assist professionals who are responsible for generating revenue to create more opportunities to sell. His experience includes representing the Texas Rangers baseball club and Dallas Stars hockey production teams, the studios at Las Colinas, the Texas Association of Media Motion Professionals. He founded SpeakerCoop.com in 2006, which I'm also a part of, and has attracted over 6,000 members to the cooperative business community of people who speak for business as a profession. Jeff, welcome to our Connect to Thrive Mastermind. And before we start, one of the things I wanted to do, we have Melody Owen here from Vancouver, who's joined our mastermind today. So Melody, would you just quickly introduce yourself, and then Jeff, I'm going to ask you to take it away.
Thank you, David. Yes, I'm Melody Ann Owen. I am the founder of Author Nation, which is a community of writers and authors where we help businesses, professionals, entrepreneurs, coaches write books that fit into their business and bring them ROI. We have lots of resources for them. And that's what I do.
And that's awesome. And I think I think you and I, Melody, need to have a follow-on one-to-one with after this, because I would like to get some insights from you. And I'm on that journey as well. I'm in the process of writing a book. It's actually a product of I'm utilizing my podcast and other things to leveraging that in the content for my book. So I'd love to get your thoughts, and maybe we can have a one-to-one. Who knows? There may be some synergy there. So in my business, as a mastermind, maybe you can expand my mind in the future. Yes. So with that, Jeff Klein, lead us.
Thank you, David. Thank you. I'm glad Melody's here as well. So there's a model that I wrote, that I created. It's a story about how this whole business speaking thing works. So we're going to take as an example, we're going to talk about Susie, and Susie has a landscape. I'm sorry, Susie's a tree surgeon. She's got a tree surgery business where she's limited to a certain geography where she can work and send her crews. She's limited in a certain seasons where the weather helps or doesn't or hinders her from getting jobs done. And she's got a couple of crews that they're not busy enough. And so she comes up with a talk that is going to be universal. She can't do a talk about trees because that's just not going to get her in front of enough audiences. But what she can do is a talk related to that about sustainability and how to create an eco-friendly office that saves you money. Oh, so right there, she's hitting some pain points in business. People think about the ecology, but they more think about the economy of how they can do things in their office to save money. So she does research, creates a talk called The 7 Ways to Save Money and Trees, or something along those lines, something clever and catchy. And she starts getting herself in front of business audiences like Rotaries, Chambers of Commerce, networking groups. And she creates a little worksheet with her 7 laws on it. And on the back of the worksheet is a flyer for her tree surgery, for her business that she's looking to expand. And she knows that while there are people who make a living speaking, she's not looking to become a public speaker as her new job. She's going to stay the tree lady, and she's going to use speaking as a marketing strategy, as a way to get more people to hire her service. So she goes out and she starts speaking, and people start hiring her for their homes and for their businesses because she weaves in stories about how what she does relates to saving them money in the office. And then somebody says, well, can you help me do this in my office? And so she goes over and she does a little audit, and she realizes that she now has another product she can sell that's not weather dependent like her trees business is. And again, she's not changing profession. She's just creating another income stream for her business. And so she starts doing these office saving audits and showing people how to save trees and save money. And so now she has more customers for her business and a new product that she's offering that people are paying her for as well. She can continue to just do those 2 things and be very happy and just get in front of more audiences. What'll wind up happening is she'll have to create a second topic. So next year she can go back to the same audiences and speak again, or just a little tweak on her current thing. She could become a podcast host and start hosting a podcast as a way to promote her message, but also get more clients, because she could invite target businesses onto the podcast as a guest. And oh, by the way, then they could become clients. That's a great way to one-to-one directly get clients, but it all comes from what we call business speaking. So this is how Susie, the tree surgeon, can use speaking to get more clients. It's similar to my journey as an ad agency guy who spoke teaching the elevator pitch, and that turned into more business. It turned into a CD that I sold for $20, and it turned into workshops when somebody said, hey, 4 of us want to pay you to do a workshop. Will you come back and do a workshop? And I said, you bet. What time? So that's a couple of different ways that what I'm going to talk about next applies. But I do have to share with you that I created Susie's story in about 2010, and there's a whole 1-page cartoon telling her story. And 2 years ago in 2018, I got a phone call from a friend saying, I've got somebody I want you to meet. she's a landscaper, but she's already talking about ecology, and they basically described Susie.
Mhm.
And I thought they were messing with me and playing a trick on me. And then I met her, and she's a real person, and her name is Erica, not Susie. But all the things that I had talked about in creating that avatar of Susie was personified in Erica. And so, you know, the universe works in mysterious ways. So what we're going to talk about today, and I put the link right here under my picture to download a worksheet on the 9 laws to business speaking success. And I'll show it to you on screen here just briefly, but I'm going to spend most of the time making you look at me instead of a worksheet on the screen. So you can see I think you can see the 9 laws to reach business speaking success. And what I want you to have this, because I'm not going to go in depth of all 9 laws, but I want you to know what all 9 laws are. And we're going to focus on 3 of them today. And the ones that I find most important. And again, I'm available after. If you want to reach out to me, I'll put my email address up, and it's on the worksheet. So please download the worksheet, and that'll get us going, and that'll get us much further along. All right, so stop sharing. So the first thing, law number 1, and this will always, always be law number 1, is give value first. So here's the deal. The deal is you're going into a room of people as the expert, and you're contributing 20, 30, 40 minutes of their meeting time. And your job is to give them value, show them ways you can make their work life, their home life better. And in exchange for them giving you 18 or 19 minutes to do that, you can take 1 or 2 minutes to make a business offer and tell those people how to work with you after you've given them value. And that natural exchange works really well. And that's why I make sure that we focus on the difference between somebody who wants to be a public speaker, which is a job, it's a profession, it's my profession, and somebody who's a coach or an author or an architect or a tree surgeon, right? So we're going to teach people some things they can use now, today, right away, based on what we do. So what I will do right now is do that, right? So let's talk about that most basic speech, the elevator pitch, the 30-second commercial. You can improve your 30-second commercial time and your results when you do this commercial by not starting with your name anymore. Stop saying your name first. Now, why would I say that's important? For a lot of reasons. First of all, a lot of people aren't ready to hear your name yet and remember it when you start. Second of all, at a lot of groups, they'll say your name before. You know, I used to attend a chamber where there were 100 people doing commercials every Friday morning, and they would read your business card to let you know it was your turn. And so they would say, Jeff Klein. There was no need for me to stand up and say, I'm Jeff Klein right after they said it. There was I think it was a Lions Club that I learned this story. When they brought a guest to the Lions Club, the member introduced their guest by saying, here's my guest, Fred, and Fred is the executive of ABC Widgets. And the audience's only job was to say, good morning, Fred. But half of the audience would forget Fred's name by the time it was their turn to say, good morning, Fred. So now the way they do the introductions is, my guest is from ABC Widgets, and his name is Fred. And then everybody says, good morning, Fred. So don't waste 10% of your 30 seconds with your name at the beginning when people aren't ready for it. Say your name second to last, where people will remember it, and end your commercial by telling us what to do next. Write the name. So you ask for a referral, ask for a concrete thing. Don't ask for 7 things. This week, I'm looking to meet podcast hosts. Please write the name of the podcast host you know on your business card and pass it to me so we can set up an introduction. That's how you end your commercial. So start without your name, start with your story. Tell us why you want to meet that referral. Ask for that referral. And then say, I'm Jeff with Speaker Co-op. Please write the name of that podcast host on your business card and pass it to me so we can set up an introduction. So there's some help with that elevator pitch that all of us have to do and have to learn. I at this point I would say, are there any questions? But I will. We've got a smaller audience today live, but I do want to give Dave or Melody a chance to reply or ask about the value question.
Well, I'm going to allow you to talk at this point. So you can unmute and ask any questions if you want as well. We've had some folks join us, so I just want to open it up. I will say the question I guess a question that I have, I get the remembering your name and those kinds of things. And I think at the end, I think people, you have to gauge how well you are known. And this is an area maybe you and I don't always agree on in terms of what you do in your 30 seconds is I do agree with asking for the referral. But I think how you ask or what you're asking them to follow up on should be gauged by how well you are, what kind of relationship you already have with the group that you're in, right? I mean, if you're well known, if you've already invested in the community, you've given, if you, as you said, very importantly in your 9 laws, if you will, if you're already investing in the group, then it's different than if you show up at the bar and you say, hey, look at how good looking I am, write your sister's name on a card and give it to me at the end.
Sure.
And that's the way I view that kind of end. And I have had a number of people that have obviously been listening to your training that show up in my networking group for the first time and or multiple times and do that same thing. And the likelihood of somebody who values their network in actually giving you a card is probably low. So it's a kind of a question. So how do you react to that?
Sure. So what I teach, core to the core of the part of the networking lessons I teach, is the first thing you should ask to meet are people who are potential partners, not customers. So what I'm asking, and I give referrals the day I meet people, and I believe we should all do that, because your reputation is not on the line if you say, this guy's looking for people to share referrals with, and he asks to meet your job title, let's have a conversation, or you should have a conversation with him. You qualify the introduction. I just met this person and he's looking to meet people like you to partner with. He's not trying to sell you something. And it would be worth you having a 30-minute coffee with him to discuss that.
Right.
So that's why I believe we can make introductions the day of, and our reputation is not on the line because we're not making a recommendation. We're just making a referral.
Yeah. And again, I think that maybe some of it is in community management and in terms of the thing is if you have somebody, I mean, I'll refer to my network if I know people and they know me, and I can essentially qualify what the person is looking for. So yeah, I get that. Okay. Hey, Zip, did you have any questions? You had opened your mic and I wanted to give you a chance to ask a question.
Nope, I'm just listening and driving.
Oh, okay. All right.
Happy New Year's, Zip.
You're in flight. I don't want you.
That referral, the saying referral or that made a little bit of sense.
Good. Yeah, that was good. I liked your qualification there, Jeff. I knew you had a good answer for that. We've talked about this before, but I have to answer this question a lot too. Melody, did you have any thoughts, observations before Jeff moves on?
Not yet, no. Keep going.
All right, great.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, and that's an ongoing conversation because a lot of people don't give referrals, or they don't give referrals till they've known somebody for a year. And to me, that's not truly networking unless you're willing to help folks with an introduction. So you qualify it. It's not a recommendation. It's just a warm introduction. But for that to happen, they have to ask properly. You know, hey, I'm looking to partner with, you know, mortgage people, or I'm looking to partner with tree surgeons, or, you know, podiatrists, whatever the case may be. So good. All right. So I'm going to just run down a couple of the titles of the other laws, and then we'll spend some time on another one. There's no such thing as a free speech is a Zig Ziglar quote. And this is the speaking for business is all about getting in front of an audience of potential clients. You don't want to speak to a room that's not the right room, but you also don't need to get a fee to be in front of the room if your goal is to get more clients from that room. So whether you're doing it to build a list, whether you're doing it to make an offer, or whether you're doing it to further a cause, you're getting compensated because those people have given you their time. Number 3 law is just do it. And that's just all about perfect being the enemy of great. People spend way too much time planning, and just it's time to stop planning and just get it done. I heard on the radio, they were talking to somebody who'd written 250 books or more. And the interviewer said, how have you written 250 books? And the author's answer was, because I stopped writing and passed it on to my editor. You know, there were lots of times where I didn't want to stop, but I knew that there was time. It was time to birth the book and give it to the next step of the process. So law 4 is tell true stories. Number 1, stories are super important, but you've got to be authentic. And sometimes you don't even have to tell your own stories. If you don't have a story that applies to the lesson you're trying to teach, history, Google has stories for you. There are some amazing stories throughout history. You could even use a fictional character story if it directly applied to the lesson you're trying to teach. So, and the reason this is so important, I have a colleague who, and there are coaches out there who teach speakers to elaborate and makes, you know, I call it making stuff up, they call it elaborating, embellishing. And this colleague, I heard the story he learned to tell. He paid somebody to teach him to tell. And then at one point, a couple of years later, I heard the real story. And I said, the real story is better. Why are you, you know, he was using this other method because he'd been taught that was how to do it. And his authentic story was so much better. It touched my heart, which the other story didn't. And the more you can be yourself, because you can fake authenticity, but I don't recommend it. Be true to yourself. That'll be true to your audience. That'll keep you true to the universe. And everybody will be happier when you're during and after your talk. There's no reason to make stuff up. But the stories need to relate directly to what you're trying to teach. And part of that goes back to Susie teaching about ecology instead of trees, because you need to be relevant and you need to help the audience with your story. So, you know, I mean, I told the story about Susie, which is a completely made up story to illustrate what I teach. I also have a version of that where it's with my story, which I told a little bit about, but you want to always be open and be yourself. And I will ask again if anybody has a question or a comment on stories or on authenticity.
May I jump in?
Yes.
Yes, I was just going to add to that. I often tell people to use client stories, customer stories, because it's so relatable. It's like, look, I help people do this. And I've had clients who've had similar problems and issues and have found solutions. And sometimes, for example, a doctor can't tell true stories, but they can take true situations and make stories out of them. And they're true. They're not your story, and they're so relatable. I just wanted to throw that in there, Jeff.
No, I'm glad you did, Melody. And that also lets me throw in an important safety tip. And that is, when you want to make sure people don't think you're sharing your client's secrets.
Yes.
So when you tell a client story, make sure you change the names. You tell people you change the names. Yes. And just make sure that everybody's clear that they're not gonna hire you and then you're gonna tell their secrets.
Exactly.
Yeah. So very good. Thank you for that. Very good stuff.
My biggest question is, were you talking about me when it came to trying to be perfect on my book as opposed to publishing the book?
Only if you saw yourself in it. I was not, but
yeah, no, I'm teasing. I actually, that spoke to me because the title of my book, and I started it back in, I think, 2017, maybe. And it's called Vision Warriors Survive and Thrive in the Zombie Apocalypse, which was before the zombie apocalypse that I now label for 2020. And it actually presented an opportunity to do a lot of the stuff I've done to improve the content, but it is an interesting observation, whether it comes to speaking, in your business.
Yeah.
Or having a talk is basically doing it. So I do agree.
Yeah, but don't keep improving it to the point nobody ever sees it.
Right.
and Melody can help you with that.
Yeah, that's why I told her. I said I need to, maybe.
So Law 5 is about making a deal you can live with. And I want to just bring this up briefly so people are aware that you should have a letter of agreement every time you speak. And that letter of agreement outlines what you get and what's expected of you and what's expected of your audience. And as with most of what I teach, all of this comes from lessons I learned in real life, my mistakes. I learned to make sure I got fed because I didn't always, sometimes I had to buy my own meal, and that's part of the speaking for no fee is supposed to be that they feed you. So sometimes that didn't happen. So there's things like that, like in the letter of agreement that the host will feed the speaker and a guest, and one they're either whether it's their assistant or if they bring somebody along so that they will, and I've actually had groups say, sorry, we only feed the speaker. So I've bought food for the assistant. But the idea is that the letter of agreement covers lots of important things. The meal may not be important to you, but getting everybody's email address before you leave is pretty important. And that's something else that is in the letter of agreement. Another thing that's in the letter of agreement is what time everything starts. What kind of equipment, microphone or video do they have available? Those are also in the letter of agreement. How are they going to promote the event? Are you expected to promote the event? Things like that. And then, of course, your bio and topic are in the letter of agreement as well. I've changed URLs by my picture to one where you can download a copy of our boilerplate letter of agreement. I'm not an attorney, but we have a sample letter of agreement at the website. And another thing that's in the letter of agreement is a price for your talk. Even though you're not getting paid, you are not speaking for free. You are waiving your fee for that audience. And only the person who booked you and maybe a couple others know you're not getting paid to speak. And because the letter of agreement also says that it's confidential, your deal with that or that person or that organization. So I've been paid $1,000 to do the same talk I did 300 times without a fee. And it was because that group paid speakers and other groups don't. So you give that talk a value, and then that really makes a difference also to your authenticity and your professionalism to that client. And you don't need to, you don't need everything that's in the letter of agreement you'll find on the website, but you'll find that a lot more of it, you'll need a lot more of it the more you speak than you would think. So that's free to download at that link. So I want to make sure everybody knows about that as well. Law 6 is about creating info products. That's books, MP3s, podcasts, white papers, you name it. But what's important to remember is when you put yourself out there as an expert, you're going to make people want more of you. And the way they get more of you is by downloading it or buying it from you. And you can create more centers of profit, more profit centers, more income centers, and make that all famous money while you sleep thing that we hear about by having stuff out there that relates to what you're talking about. And every topic title you have leads to a potentially full line of products, webinars, pre-recorded products. Some people do drip product where you get a supportive text every day or a supportive Instagram post every day. The technology you use relates to your audience as well. If you were sending a daily Instagram, I wouldn't get it. But if you sent me a daily text, I would. So it also, you know, everything you do needs to relate to who you're serving. Otherwise, they're not going to buy it. You know, if you're serving students, you better target their parents, because the students aren't going to buy anything. Mom and dad or grandma are going to buy it and send it to the students. So there's a whole info products is something you'll wind up doing anyway, because people will start asking you for stuff. I was surprised that when I was doing the 30-second talks and I was selling my CD and I was selling a workshop, and somebody said, what if we just wanted you to write our commercials for us? And I went, really? Yes, I will pay you to write my commercials. Okay, so I added a product on my order form at the time for $250. I'll write you 5 commercials. And several people bought it. So you never know what people are going to want to purchase. So be ready. That's why all of my order forms have a blank to fill in when you're there. So let's go on. Law number 7, offer an experience. If you're out there to lecture people, you are not going to succeed at this thing we call business speaking. You need to have conversations with the audience. And I even very often I'll say that near the beginning of my talk. I'm here to have a conversation with you. I'm not here to lecture you. So when you have a question, please ask it. A lot of groups will say you have 20 minutes plus 5 minutes for Q&A. And I tell my audiences, we're not doing 20 and 5, we're doing 25 minutes. And when you have questions, please ask them as they come up. And every speaker is different. It's up to you on that front, of course, but you want to have a way to make this more of an experience. You want audience involvement. You stop at some point and do an exercise, have people talk to their neighbor. In the virtual world, you do breakout rooms. And, so for the next 3 minutes, we're going to do breakout rooms, and your assignment in the breakout room is this. I had a really, really good feedback when I did a list. We did a whiteboard and just started, and I used the whiteboard tool in Zoom. And I asked everybody to, what else could we do on this list? And people chimed in, and I typed out the answers. And by the end, we had a list of 30 or 40 things on the whiteboard in Zoom. And so people took a screen capture or took a picture of the screen with their phone, and we were able to involve people in the conversation. So you want to make sure that you give people an experiential opportunity, and you'll get better results when you do that. Sometimes it's hard to get people to answer questions. So sometimes you have to be more proactive on that front and actually call people out. So just be prepared and do some practice with how to get people involved. And there are lots of ways, lots of tools you can seek out, and people you can ask for help for something like that. There's mentors like Dave or I or Melody. Lots of tools out there for that. My friend Monica Cornetti has a whole book about about exercises and games for an audience. So if you're interested in that, you can email me and I'll send you that link at Amazon. Law number 8 is ask for engagement. What that means is that when you make some sort of an offer, it could be I'm scheduling 30-minute free consultations. It could be here's my audio to sell. Here's my video to sell, whatever the case may be. Here's how to sign up for the workshop. But you want to ask, and anybody who's in sales knows you have to ask for the order. And if you want to get it, you better ask for it. So that being said, I'm going to put another link. This is a longer link. We'll see if it works. Put another link underneath my picture. Let's see if this one works. Yes, I think it's all, well, no, it's not quite all there. I have a 3-hour version of this talk. It's 3 hours on the 9 laws to business speaking success. It's $197, and once you buy it, you can watch it as many times as you want. But I wanted to put that out there, and if that link doesn't quite work, you can obviously email me and we can hook you up on that front. But here's an easier link where it's all about learning the technology you're going to be using. This is the link to learn about membership in my website, speakercoop.com. And if you are at all interested in doing what we're talking about, speaking for groups to get more business, a couple of hundred people come to their website every month looking for speakers. So that link will give you the different ways to become a member. Melody and David are already members. You go there to find speakers. If you need them, please use the site to find speakers. This particular short link is the membership page, but it's speakercoop.com. It's pretty easy to remember. And we have all kinds of education to offer, as well as promoting business and professional speakers. But we always, some of this is law of attraction, law of reciprocity. Ask for what you want because you just might get it. And that's really what the whole, now I've forgotten the secret was. The secret was ask. Imagine that, ask. And my 9th law is simply have fun. If you're not having fun, it's not worth doing. So enjoy what you're doing. Make the topics fun for you. Don't speak about something you don't care about. Do what you're passionate about, what you want to have fun doing. And that's how you make sure that your that this works for you, because it's not going to work if you're not having fun. And my bottom line, go for it. Go back to that law number 3. Quit talking about it and just do it. When you want help doing it, I'm your guy. Thanks, everybody.
Let me give you an actual audio applause. That was a great job, Jeff. One of the things I would ask you to do, and actually I posted a bogus link, so don't worry about the chat. I'll post another one, is post those links in the chat, and I'll make sure on the replay, live replay that'll be available, that most people will be watching at this juncture. I'll make sure those links are there. So if you can post those, share those links in the chat with what they are, I'll make sure that we do that. But that was good, and we got through your 9 laws, and that was valuable. Any Melody, Zip, anybody have any questions, comments, thoughts regarding this? We've still got a few minutes. We can do that. Again, Jeff, I appreciate it. You know, we've had this conversation. I've seen various versions of this talk along the journey, and it's getting better. I mean, every time. You know, I think life is a journey, and continuous improvement is one of my objectives as well. So, you know, when I started my podcast 3 weeks before the pandemic, I went back and listened to some of the episode 1 and 2 and some of those early ones. I went, oh my gosh, did I really publish that? So, so it's, you know,
and doing a 3-hour version of it sure helps make the short version a lot easier.
For sure. Yeah. It's like writing a book. It's pretty easy to do a talk once you've gone through it's all in your, as I say, my kids often say, I say, well, I'm sorry, I just spent a lot of time talking about this, but I've been working on it, and it's really in I'm full of it. And they say, yeah, you're full of it. All right. Anyway, Melody, did you have any thoughts or any questions?
I really liked when you're talking about offering experience. I think that's really important. And I just want to say, I think that's really challenging for people now that we tend to be doing things on Zoom and we're long distance. So what suggestions do you have when we are online? And I used to do in-person events. I want interaction, right? So what do you suggest people do to get that interaction on Zoom and other formats?
Well, and one of the things, as the speaker on Zoom, make sure you're in the what's it called, the gallery view. Make sure you're looking at as many faces as possible to help you see people's reaction in the audience, to help you. That doesn't answer your question yet, but that's a tip for virtual speaking. And then one way is to do some sort of a list of things. You know, what are some of the things that you know, do this, or who's a famous person who, when you hear this word, who do you think of? And encourage people to unmute themselves and pipe in with those. I like breakout rooms as well, but you have to manage them, and you have to give people a quick to do thing. Don't give them something that'll take them too long to do. You know, one thing I'll do with speaking is I'll teach people my breathing method of how to start your talk with a strong breath. And I'll just have them turn to each other in the room and stand up next to each other and just do, my name is, and to each other. And that takes 30 seconds, but they've gotten out of their chairs and they've done something relevant to the talk. It's not everybody stretch, you know, that's just, to me, a little cheesy. You want to keep people with you in mind the whole time. So yeah.
Thank you. That's
you're
great.
welcome.
Who doesn't love interaction, right? Yeah.
Well, there are some shy people that don't.
Yeah, I'll give you some feedback on that, because I probably have as much experience with trying to manage speakers in various settings in this virtual environment now, both hybrid and strictly on Zoom, is anybody I know. I haven't experienced a lot of people. And I'll tell you that is, that's a great question, Melody, because it is a very, you want to be sure and have practiced and kind of know the room that you're walking into. Jeff has mentioned a couple of times breakout rooms. I have a different opinion there. I've tried breakout rooms. Depending on the amount of time you have and the interaction, you can eat up a lot of time sending people to breakout rooms and bringing them back, and then the whole logistical thing. And I like to be, Jeff said it, you'll hear me say it every meeting that I have, is your most valuable asset is your time. And so when somebody like you, Melody, like Jeff, like Zip, anybody chooses to invest their time in participating, even if they just want to listen, I want to honor that and give them, some return. So everything you've said, Jeff, in your list and things are valuable things. Not everything will be of value to everybody at that point, but the experience part of it is good, mainly to keep people awake. In the virtual environment, you've got to be, and I've seen, really creative ways of keeping people, and I've seen some pretty, I think you used the word cheesy. I've seen some things that really didn't, they
didn't work.
They didn't land. They were actually a distraction more than something.
When it's a hybrid room, you also have to do some things differently when it's both, when you're in front of a virtual and a live audience at the same time.
Yep.
And so, that definitely comes into play for sure.
Yeah. So, but in this setting, we've had, me, I basically will tell the speaker that comes into our Friday session, which we've been doing since 2015 in various venues and various ways, 48 a year, so that's quite a few. I've seen a lot of different ways, and I always appreciate, by the way, the speaker that really is wanting to engage the audience and keep people engaged. So I don't want it to come off as, don't do anything creative. But my groups have become at least the core of people that show up, like Zip and others, and Randy, who's normally here, and other folks. They're not shy. They're going to get engaged, and so you can try anything. So that's the one things I love about our group for speakers and Jeff's community and stuff, is we're a pretty low bar as far as getting engagement and trying new things. So I'm always looking for that. So that's beautiful.
And something else that comes up quickly on the engagement is music can be beneficial, and even little video clips. But if you do something musical, like what does this song make you think of, or something like that, that'll keep people awake for one, and it'll, that engages folks' other senses as well.
Can I say something to what David was saying? You reminded me, like, your group is very engaged, and it reminded me I've run conferences and events, and I do live interviews, and so I have a lot of different experience. And my experience is, as a speaker, when I come into a room like yours, where people have been meeting every Friday, they know each other, they feel safe, they're willing to take risks, versus if I'm hosting an event and I put it out on Eventbrite or wherever, and I get 20 random strangers, getting them engaged and speaking together is a completely different ballgame than coming into a group like yours where they know each other and feel comfortable. I just want to throw that out there. So if you're a speaker and ask, how well do people know each other? Is this a safe space for them to engage, or are they all strangers? Because that'll make a huge difference.
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I would actually say that if you're the speaker on the stage and it's somebody else's stage, back to Jeff's, engagement letter or whatever you call it, I personally want the person managing the stage not only to introduce me as a speaker, but also to create some level of safe space or comfort in the audience for the people that participate, kind of like we did, because this was your first time in the group. Is I will specifically, assuming we have the runway to do that, you show up in time or show up to do that. And I have no problem with the speaker saying up front, I would like you to let me know who I'm talking to, and build and kind of bridge that gap. So just as when you're participating, and if it's your event, it's your event. You do, and if you got a bunch of people who don't know each other, you have to decide on time allocation, how much you want to devote to that. But I think to Jeff's point, to your point, they're all, connecting those dots. It's nothing more valuable for, somebody investing their time in a presentation to develop an initial rapport, even if it's just.
Yeah. Well, and as a business speaker, you should be having a conversation with that client, that meeting planner person, a week or two before you show up.
Yeah, and that's an area, by the way, thank you, Jeff, because as a meeting planner, as somebody who is doing this, I always appreciate the speakers that call, reach out. Who am I dealing with? What is asking those questions, making sure that they kind of understand.
Yeah. Because those questions are all answered in the letter of agreement, but you still should have that conversation.
Right. Still got to have the conversation, because, I'll be candid. I am what I am. The group is what it is. If you choose to speak, you're going to speak. You can give me a letter of agreement, unless you're telling me to pay when I don't pay, it's
right. You fill out, these are the kind of people in the room, but
yeah,
it's different when you have it as a conversation.
Yeah, it's kind of like, I don't do texts. I do texts, but I need to talk to you before.
Yes. Yes.
I need to make sure that the nuances of what we're communicating in writing, in any form, we've at least had a connection. Well, this is great. Again,
yeah, that person is a client, so think of them that way and treat them accordingly.
Yeah, and I view that. Actually, it's interesting you should say that, because one of the things I decided a couple of years ago was literally everybody that God or the universe brings into my network that I have an opportunity to serve, I view as a client. And whether you're paying me or not, you're my client. So I don't monetize first and serve later. I serve first and monetize and have an impact. So I love the mindset. I love really viewing everybody as somebody that you've set up to serve, whether they pay you or not. Okay, well, let's do this. We got to land a plane. It's 1 minute till 1, and I always the formal part of the meeting. But again, thank you, Jeff. This is really good. I'm excited to get it out there. I'll make sure these links make it to the video replay on all the platforms. And for those that are here, that are part of Richardson Plano Networkers, we're back.